All right, it's Joker's Wild or something. Welcome to April. Hello, my name is Andrew. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach. Some folks might know me from the Do Project and my occasional guest hosting and moderating for that. Big hello to Saban. As Saban pointed out, it is finally warm in Arizona, or at least southeastern Arizona, or the southern part of Arizona. I don't know about the middle part. And hello to Emma, Bill B, Ruth, Brian Sweeney. Hello, Colette. And I don't know if I missed anybody. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. So we talked about cards. We would draw cards and then, like the software engineer that I am, I was paralyzed by how am I going to map the techniques from unified mindfulness into cards. And so I haven't figured out anything clever to do with the jokers yet. I thought about kicking to chat and asking for a technique suggestion in chat if a joker comes up, but we won't do that this time since it's the first time. But I've got see, hear, feel is the ace of diamonds, and then I picked diamonds because these are all focus, or we've all got focusing techniques, and so I'll shuffle these, and then we'll pick something. But so my hope is that this week we're going to do something from. So really quick, I'll just give you the introduction to what is shortened to see, hear, feel. So C is C could be either external vision or mental image. So see out would be vision, or what you see with your eyes open. See in would be mental imagery. See out could include kind of the physical vision of your closed eyes. So just to think about that. So I purposefully, hello, Savan. I've purposely not included see out, but I have included see in. So that would be mental imagery. And then for hearing, we could have hear in, which would be mental talk. And we can have hear out. And hear out is one of the techniques that I usually do a lot of when I talk about finding a sound around you as a home base anchor. And that sounds like refrigerators, like the constant hum of air vent, ceiling fans for folks like Saban and I in Arizona. Usually have a ceiling fan running in your room. Those are good. The clock is kind of a good hear out, I think, for some, if it doesn't drive them kind of or be super annoying to them. And then, so we've talked about C, we talked about the H, that's hear, and then the F, feel. And so feel could be feel in, or it could be feel out. Hello, Gabrielle. For feel in, that would be emotional body sensations. In the parlance of Star Wars, I've got a bad feeling about this. That would be a feel in, right? You have that gut feeling where things aren't quite right. And then feel out would be itches, the feeling of temperature on your skin. So you're cold or you're warm. The feeling of clothing against your body, that would be feel out. When we talk about using a home base for pressure points, for the actual pressure of the seated posture, feel out is what we're talking about there. Hello, Patrick, welcome. And then I threw in autofocus, which would be like you can tell I didn't have any audio visual training in high school. I was a photography, I was involved with a lot of photography stuff, but so autofocus for folks that remember when we had thank you, when we had Toby Sala on as a guest host for the Do Nothing Project, he talked about autofocus as being a variation of the Do Nothing practice. So if we pull this, then we would have 25 minutes of do nothing. And then the last one is you can begin to play with the combinations of see, hear, feel. And actually, I just realized I didn't show you two other cards. So you can begin to play with the combinations of see, hear, feel. So you could say, I'm going to focus on feel out and hear out, but I'm not going to worry about the other sensations. So that would be, if I have an emotional sensation, it's out of bounds, so to speak, right? It's outside of your focus range. It's there, it's a reality, right? But we're not focusing on it. We would then kind of redirect to something that's in our focus range. And our focus range would be feel out and hear out. So sounds and the physical sensations of the body. And I just realized as I'm extemporaneously chatting about all these things, there are two techniques that are technically not part of unified mindfulness, but they're part of Shinzen's larger thing. Yes, and it's none of your business. So that's a perfect Ruth. That is a perfect prompt from or a pointer from Ralph. That idea that it's outside of the focus range. We could also say that you could also say, I've heard Zen teachers say that all of our thoughts are in theory none of our business. And then I think Dan Harris is fond of quoting Matthew Brensilver, who is a teacher at Spirit Rock and maybe at IMS as well, but in that insight meditation sort of lineage. And Matthew Brensilver says that our thoughts about the progress of our practice are none of our business as well. Or in other words, your progress on the path is none of your business. So lots of things that aren't our business. Okay, so the two things that I am fond of, because they were techniques when I started meditating with Shinzen, is focus in and focus out. So these would be, for focus out, it would be see, hear, feel out. So in other words, in modern parlance, we would talk about that as like focusing out. And then focusing in, which I'm fond of doing, and that's primarily because I'm one of these folks that's like spends too much time in my brain, and I think that's probably a software engineer, or it's probably an everybody thing, but I think software engineers are a little bit too much on that front. But focus in would be see in, feel in, hear in. So it would be the three categories, but like focused in. And then the last thing, if you're playing your five senses and go, well, what about taste and what about smell? We just lump those into feel. So if you are not totally lost yet, and again, questions you can ask in chat, and then we're gonna see how hard it is to shuffle basically one suit of cards. But we'll shuffle these and we'll draw a card. Yes, Jeff McPhee points out that that used to be taught in Jeff's course. I think Jeff's course is still out there, by the way. If you go if you're curious, Jeff has a meditation course that I think was put up on Teachable, and it's from maybe about 6-7 years ago. So Shinzen, like, there's sort of proof that Shinzen has been innovating. So when okay, Colette, I appreciate that. So when I draw a card, I'll explain it, and that's probably what I should have done. But I wanted to do a whirlwind tour of all the cards for at least now. But thank you for saying that, because if you are lost, someone else is lost. So, and hello, Catherine. All right, so I'm putting that one back. So autofocus is what I drew, but that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. So I'm making an executive decision. So autofocus would be do nothing. So if you're scoring at home, they used to always say when I watched baseball as a kid, if you're scoring at home. All right. So we'll do this and focus out. Okay, so as you can tell, I reshuffled because I didn't like the first one. So our technique is focus out. So okay, so for focus out, it's our focus range for the sit. I'm gonna give you guidance, and we'll do guidance, and that way I won't do too much discussion now because I realize I've done way too much of it. But we are gonna so our focus range is see out, hear out, and feel out. Now, your choice if you want to have eyes open or eyes closed, but since it's focus out, I would encourage you to try eyes open. I mentioned that now because if you want to position yourself away from the screen or you want to turn away from the screen, then that's great to know now. So focus out would be, in essence, we're going to use the categories of see, hear, feel, but we're focusing out. So we're see out, hear out, feel out. So in essence, we're kind of like focused as this kind of open aperture to the outside experiences. All right. Okay, I hope Saban is right. I appreciate your encouragement that you'll find that it becomes clear. So, so that's what we're doing. I have realized now, as I see the timer, that I have spoken way longer than I realized. So we're going to do a 25-minute sit. I will make sure to sort of end promptly because I know some of you have places to be at the top of the hour. So I'll ring the bell, and then we'll do a normal sit where we'll do our normal settling in, and then I'll provide you with a little bit of orienting and ways of navigating focus out, and then we'll finish last 5 minutes, do nothing. All right. Thank you for signing up for this. Okay. So I said a lot of things. So just to begin with, just sort of allowing your body to be still and settle into the posture. And really, we're just trying to find a posture that will help us to be mostly still, allowing for movement, but mostly still for the next 25 minutes. Again, we want to be upright without being uptight. So the position of the torso, just trying not to be sort of bolt upright, but that sort of straight spine or mostly naturally straight spine helps to cue the body to pay attention. And then as you settle in, just allowing yourself to move if needed and then settling back to stillness. So it's just kind of almost getting a little bit of movement just to settle in, to feel like you're in a good spot. And if you're standing or lying down or you're walking and listening to this, totally fine, but I'm going to focus on the seated posture. And then just kind of checking in with what's here, or like inner weather report. So if it's been a challenging day, you might kind of feel like it's hard to leave that sort of stuff behind. If it's been kind of a languid day, maybe it feels like you're a little more sleepy than normal. Just kind of seeing and honoring what's here to begin the sit. And then a few deliberate breaths. Slow and low is the tempo that we're looking for. And so breathing in through the nose allows us to slow down the breath. Breathing lower into the belly. And then if you can extend and accentuate that exhale from the belly. And just kind of a rule of thumb, if you can make the exhale twice as long as the inhale, and that's a physiological cue for the body to shift into rest and relaxation states. So again, it's up to you, but I'm going to offer and encourage eyes open. And for this sit, we're sort of receiving all of the external senses. So if I notice that my attention is focused on something in front of me, kind of allowing my attention to be in the sight or in see out. I have an itch, and for like a brief moment I'm feeling focused on the body. And then maybe I have a self-conscious thought or two. So those thoughts are herein. They're kind of out of bounds, so to speak, none of our business. So then I come back to maybe the physical sensation of my feet on the ground. And then back to that focus range. So see out, hear out, feel out. And so we're noticing where our attention is. Soaking all of our attention in. And then optionally, you can use a mental label. Now that label, you could use a shorthand if you have one that is helpful. But if you want to go ahead and use the labels of see for vision, hear for HEAR, hear for sounds, and feel for physical body sensations, you can totally do that. And if that feels way too complicated, maybe you can just use out if you want for focus out. So I'm going to let you explore with that, and then I'll check in a little bit with a few tune-ups. All right, so if you've had a little bit of a chance to experience focus out, if there's too many options, you can choose to move to maybe your home base. So maybe your home base is the breath. So the breath and focus out talk would be feel out. Again, if you want to use sounds, that would be hear out. And so you could narrow down to just one of those categories. And again, the pattern is the same, bringing our attention into that category, focusing all of our attention, and then optionally using that label. And the label is like sort of spotting the attention if it was lifting weights. So you're just kind of there with the label to help it stay a little longer. And the tone of that label that you give mentally is one you can use to your advantage as well. And then one last little plus for meditating sort of remotely is that you could use a spoken label if you feel like that would help give you a little more support. So I can hear my dryer. And if I were to narrow to sounds with a pleasing pace, I would notice my attentions on sounds, soak my attention in, and label it here. I could keep that going if that helps me stay with it. And again, the other experiment is dropping the label. And then finally, if you feel like you've got a little momentum after focusing on one category, you can open back up. And so I'll let you explore that and keep going.
And as always, you're welcome to continue with the technique if you want. But this is an opportunity here for us to switch over and let go of the technique and shift into do nothing. And just as an aside or a reminder, if you were experimenting with eyes open and you want to go closed eyes, then just a reminder you can do that too. And then lastly, just before I stop talking here, just a reminder that as we shift into do nothing, we're just sort of letting go of any technique. We're not necessarily actively monitoring or anything. But if we notice that we're kind of trying to micromanage our attention, we let go of that. right, our sit has concluded. May any merit that was generated by our time together go to benefit all beings. Thank you for your practice. Welcome, Lynn. Hopefully that was something you could pick up and follow, Lynn, at the last minute. So that was Focus Out. Colette and anyone else, so some folks said and again, I'm very happy that you indicate that you were lost, because I think I was kind of lost with the way I was describing it. Curious about if you have questions or reports after playing around with the technique. If there's anything that wasn't clear, so that maybe I can offer some support or more depth to, that would be. What about the thumbnail pick, Jeff? I just stole the thumbnail pick from Do Nothing Project on Sunday. So, okay, thank you, Moria. That was great. All right, awesome. Got here late, but enjoyed it. Okay, that's good to hear too, Fred, because then you wouldn't have known the technique right away. So, okay, eyes open was really difficult. Okay, that is a incredibly common report, Ruth, for folks that don't normally practice with eyes open. Did you experience kind of an eye flutter at all, or your eyes drying? Because that is okay. It's been dropped to feel how hear, feel out. Okay, perfect. Now, I would say from a predict and prepare perspective, Ruth, that's why I put feel out in, or sorry, it's like I've never been on video before. Feel out, hear out. It's why I put that in here. So as a quick aside for some folks, for some of the Mahayana Buddhist practices, they consider eyes open to be kind of a necessity. And the rationale is that you want to have more of a transition from being able to take your stance from the seated practice into the world. That's one attitude from very much so from Vajrayana, like the idea that they practice with eyes open. So Shamatha Vipassana, the training that I did with Susan Piver, eyes are open. In the Zen world, eyes are open, but eyes are open in the Zen world primarily as a way to, or one of the keys for that is because it fosters an amount of alertness. So you'll notice that folks that do just sitting will have their eyes like almost kind of like half, like they're de-gaze, like there's this defocus. I'm sorry, not de-gaze, defocus, and then their eyelids are dropped a little bit, and that's in essence one way of like a relaxed posture from that. So interesting though that I have noticed that eyes open bothered me a lot early, and that I've gotten used to it. So when I'm moderating for Do Nothing Project, I practice with my eyes open so that I can see chat, so that I can see if bots pop in and are commenting and stuff while we're doing the meditation. And but I've noticed that that eyes open, like Jeff McPee is highlighting, that eyes open can be way more stimulating, and so you can kind of play with that. So I think it's an interesting thing to note. So the last thing I'll say about from the Zen perspective. So if you're sitting, if you're just sitting, which is shikantaza, or zazen is a seated meditation, is what the za and seated, or in zazen is seated meditation. Zen being meditation. You'll see sometimes people will focus, or they will face a wall. People will talk about from that meditation posture as you should spend more time on the cushion facing the wall. And the notion there is that you can have your eyes open facing a neutral landscape, or a neutral, and you don't have anything that stimulates. I know when I was doing meditation in different Zen groups during the pandemic, one of the instructions they would give was for you to turn away from your camera
that was part of the form of meditation when they were meditating online together. So anyway, hopefully some of that stuff was helpful. Okay, so super restless, interesting. And then switch to meta. Interesting, Gabrielle. Yeah, I think that it is important to feel empowered to do that. So that's definitely something. Yeah, Colette, and it's something to play with. Experiment with. Don't feel like you have to do it, but some experimentation I think is helpful. And then highlighting too, as Gabrielle's pointing out, you can try for that sit, and then if it's like too much or it's just not working, then you switch. So part of what I was trying to say on Sunday was this kind of up to you quality. Sort of the Shinzen used to say something to the effect of kind of like those who sit decide kind of a thing. It was this idea that your participation is what affords you the ability to tune and make those decisions. So, but I'm with you, Ruth, in that it feels more like there's more distraction. So I notice, or so if you notice on the video, when we switched to do nothing, I closed my eyes because I was just kind of playing around with that myself, because I was like, I want to see kind of like what is that, what is my experience meditating do nothing with the eyes closed. So all right, so we're at the top of the hour, so I know that some of you may need to be moving on to other things, but big, huge, super thank you for being here, and the folks that have clicked the like button. And if you haven't, if you subscribe, you'll get notifications when we go live. So all of that stuff, like, subscribe, is the rate and review of YouTube. And then Sunday, Jeff will be back on Sunday, and trying to think, this week might be the first time that our emails for Jeff's newsletter are sent out of Substack for the first time. So I think that transition is coming up. There'll be another so if you haven't checked out the second edition of Hey Jeff, that was something that I mentioned on Sunday. That's out. Don't Know Mind is something that is quite akin to Zen, and it's something that actually you see, actually, Seng San, who is a Korean Zen master, talked a lot about Don't Know Mind. So Don't Know Mind was the theme for the second edition of Hey Jeff. And then come Saturday will be another home base with Jeff. And again, that's all on the Substack. CECmeditate.com if you want to check out what's coming for CEC for April. April is a new theme. I think it is, I forget what it is now, trees, or being with trees. And the newsletter, you can find that on the website too if you haven't signed up for it. I'll get you a link to who's, I think maybe Jane is next week. I'm not sure, but the website will tell you. Thank you. My Uncle Ba was the coolest. So yeah, it was a good time to do a little bit to honor him now, especially now that he's passed on. What was the last thing? There was something else I was going to highlight. Oh, Zoom thing sometime this month. So as I think Fred may still be here, but so I'll have that out hopefully with some more information. And then next week we'll do more cards, but we're going to play around with, I think we'll do techniques in the flow family. So yeah. And the Zoom idea, if this is the first time you've heard that, is do a meditation practice and then kind of a check-in. So practice check-in. So, like what's coming up for your practice, things like that. And I think that's at least the idea that I've got. So, and then we'll see how that goes in April, and we'll go from there. All right. Well, have a great rest of your week. And then if you're in Australia, have an excellent Thursday. Let the future know that we're coming. and I'll see you on Sunday.